Well, Abby Sears, you said, hey, Redden, give us a Greyhound scrapbook of later equipment. You ask, and I listen. Here she be. Greyhound, the MCI years. You might see a few other little things buried around in here, though. You can never tell, like TNMNO. They are Greyhound, right? Yes, for some pictures of station areas as well. Okay, we're going to give you some of those. Now here's an oldie but a goodie. How many of you ever saw the Red Top Airport service operated by Greyhound in Miami? It has, of course, been sold for quite a few years now. But old Big Bear there. She's a darling car. If you were a bus driver, you'd really know what a darling car it is. Little 8262 in the terminal many moons ago in Fresno. That's where she was caught. And yes, that little 4103 tipping in over on the side over there, you know who she is. That's the old Red Ghost. New York City IBCers will know what this old girl is. 153 of Cary Bus. There was actually a time when Cary Bus, which is the airport service in New York City, they run from JFK and LaGuardia into Midtown Manhattan. They have a nice terminal, incidentally, right down by the front of Grand Central Station. And Cary here, this MC-7 wasn't carrying a dog, but there were a time when they did have dogs on them as well. Louisville, Kentucky. But way back when? That's where all that in St. Louis is where the 4107s, when they were sold off, were prepared. That 4107 over to the left of the screen was just painted by Jimmy Hagan in the Louisville shops, going off to a new owner. Oh, back out at Fresno again. This is the Super Scenic Cruiser Series 7 logo on the side, and this old girl here. Once upon a time, Fresno was quite an operation. Well, once upon a time, California was quite an operation. Of course, there's nothing left of it today. Now, even as far as MC-7s go, here's a rare old girl. This is a combo car, preceded by the letter O in her number. She was a freighter, and she had a full Scenic Cruiser rear end. If you look back there, there's a rear end that was cut out of a Scenic Cruiser for the extra weight, and there are 8 tires back there, not 6. A full Scenic Cruiser rear end. That's what all of the combo cars had. I had a couple IBCers once sitting and looking at a slideshow, and I said, what's different about that bus? Of course, with the black up there, it's very hard to ascertain. There's a little door back there as well to load freight. Maybe we'll bop into a picture of one loading in here. There are some. I don't know that we'll get to them. Here's 3443 down in the Capital Trailways yard in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Capital Trailways, they maintained and serviced the coaches back in those days. I don't know whether they still do. I don't think so. But this one here is a Super 7, also with the See America sticker on the door. I'm sorry, that was not the See America sticker. That was the Knoxville World's Fair sticker. Here's that combo car again. It shows a little better. Now you can see to some degree the windows that are blacked out, and the full scenic cruiser rear end and the loading door. That little triangle window there, that's the lab. That was moved to that position. See, out west especially, there was a lot, I mean a lot of Greyhound freight. Now see, here's a regular 7. This is also shot in St. Louis. But there's the regular 7. You can see the tag axle back there. It doesn't have a full scenic cruiser rear end, and of course, it's obvious that it's a seated bus. There's no messing around with her in any way, form, or fashion. That is a beautiful car, though. The MC-7 was a beautiful car. Because that's one of the really early ones, if you can tell by the rear wheel wells. It used to have a wheel pant on them. L885, Texas, New Mexico, and Oklahoma coaches. Bob Greenhill's sharp outfit. I don't want to say what she's like today. I know that as long as Greenhill has his hands on it, it'll still be a bus company, but I don't know as if he does anymore. Obviously a 102A3. Shot in Lubbock, Texas, as a matter of fact. I did quite a series down there on these cars. Yeah, it's a little rough to shoot when they're in terminals and there's no light walls to backlight them. Would be nice to have a fill flash here, but unfortunately at the time I did not. This was taken as, that's a Silvertop MC-7 too, incidentally, if you take a look at it. It's one of the older ones. This was taken in St. Louis. Here's 6252 working the Massachusetts Turnpike. MC-8 when she was pretty new little beast. She was only about, I think, 9 months old when I took this picture. She was bopping along at speed. Now there's some other ones in here where you pan with the bus and it looks like it's doing 3,000 miles an hour. They're in this box somewhere. Whether we work our way to it, I don't know. But that's how you do that. You set the camera at a 30th of a second and then you pan with the bus. And sometimes it's a very beautiful picture. She had a sister following behind her, a Silvertop 3699 MC-7, running the second section. Back in these days, of course, the line between Boston and New York City was almost a load and go situation, especially on weekends. All belongs to Peter Pan now, though. Oh, here's a pretty one. 1818, the Silvertop MC-7, just dragging herself out of the old St. Louis station. That was a beautiful station. It's history, though. It doesn't exist anymore. Again, this is the era that they had the placards on the side. They would put whatever was current little bit of information, like transit buses they wanted you to know, and they'd slide them in those frame holders in the side. And, you know, fare, specialty fares, or whatever. I never did like those, to say the least. Here we go. Here's one that the Chicago people are going to know. Right behind that, coming out of that tunnel, that was the entrance and the exit to the Randolph Street, the old original Randolph Street Greyhound terminal, right downtown in the Loop. It was a heck of a place to stand and take bus pictures, I want to tell you. You had an overhead, and you could get a little elevation. Again, both the MC-7 and that are our history. Silvertop fleet number 2021, sitting in Houston. The only place I was ever afraid, well, one of the two places I was ever afraid to take bus pictures in, One was Detroit and one was Houston. They were both in some pretty bad sections and had some pretty tough looking characters that were eyeing me up and down with all those cameras hanging on my neck. So I decided that discretion's a better part of valor. Got myself out. Yeah, 4333. Sitting in the Capitol Trailways yard, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Way back when. As a matter of fact, it was 1980. Ah, yes. Rarest of the rare. The Greyhound Super 7 Turbo Cruiser at Newton, Massachusetts. I want to tell you that was quite a car. It had to be pegged down in high gear. No, you couldn't shift through the gears. It had too much torque. It had acceleration like a passenger car. If you had pegged it in those lower gears, you would have shot off like a rocket. There wasn't much of a problem running out of fuel because just about anything you put in the fuel tank, that turbine would burn. However, apparently it never materialized into anything. They've had MC-8 turbo cruisers. I don't know whether they ever had a 9, but it was awesome to hear the thing go. It had two great big jet exhausts in the back. You can see the big loop over the roof there. It was a cute car. Can't tell you the real nickname for it. There might be children listening. 1546 on the left and 2113 on the right. Sitting in the holding pen down in El Paso, Texas. Fine looking machines. Never get sick of looking at a 7. Of course, these are pretty old. These are back in 77. Somewhere around back there, because they still had silver roofs on them. They were still Super 7 scenic cruisers. Here's the little girl you saw in your IBC that was the lead picture for this video, number 3600, sitting in Fort Eustis, Virginia. Fort Eustis used to be quite a place to load. It was all right. They did very well out of that Fort Eustis area. Fort Eustis is also the home of the Army Transportation Corps Training School. If you had anything to do in the Army to run trains or trucks or buses or whatever, you went to tech school there. 220 Cary Airport service. She had, this day, she was holding down the LaGuardia Kennedy shuttle. They used to have one that went across Long Island, too, between the two airports. As you can see, instead of having a Greyhound dog up there, they had a big 727 silhouette of a 727 flaring out for landing. Cary's still in existence today, but no longer owned by Greyhound. If you notice something unusual here, there's air doors on this MC-9. There isn't a sedan door. Bifold air doors. There's quite a slew of them. They made sense in New York, rather than having to have the area to swing out a whole huge sedan door. You could just open the bifold doors if you're alongside taxi cabs and things like that. That was the purpose of creating those. As we said, we're going to feed you some of the terminals in this video as well from yesteryear. I don't know whether they're still, some may still be in existence, but I can assure you almost the vast bulk of them are gone. Teach selling off all that property before he liquidated Greyhound. This President Clinton, I'll bet, knows very well. This is Little Rock, Arkansas. $36.89, sitting in Charlotte, North Carolina. That terminal is still in existence. That terminal is, well, the service to it's nowhere near what it used to be, but in its heyday, boy, Charlotte was quite a terminal. Again, that's the Silvertop girl. One of the secondary paints from when their original livery. Super 7 Scenic Cruiser. 3343, running past the front of the old Pittsburgh Greyhound terminal. Over there in the background was the incredible Pennsylvania Railroad station. An absolutely awesome edifice. Again, she's a bit of an oldie, but a goodie. That big Greyhound dog that was in the front of that terminal, whew, what a piece that would be. I don't know where you'd put it. The thing was about 18 feet long. 3608, pulling into the terminal in Winnipeg back in 1977. She's an American Greyhound, not a Canadian Greyhound. No maple leaf there, and plus 4-digit number. Canadian Greyhounds have 3-digit numbers. The old Grey Goose over there. Boy, there's a nice spread on Grey Goose in the Canadian Memories video, I want to tell you. If you like Canadian coaches, oh, that Canadian Memories video is something to have. That's 2136. All shined up, clean for me to take out and take pictures of. This was, I was friends with Greyhound back in those days when there were bus people on the property. They utilized me quite a bit. You've seen a lot of my Greyhound pictures in their ads. Oh, 3136 was spit and polished too. They even renews the tires there with that black stuff. Oh, what the day didn't cooperate too terribly good. This is the old Dallas terminal, the drive-thru. Southeastern Greyhound was beautiful for drive-thru terminals. They didn't like the dings and the dangs that they got from track loading and backing out. So they almost all of their terminals were drive-thru affairs. This one is gone now. There's a new one, but the one in San Antonio, which you'll be seeing on a video pretty soon, big time. That's one of the lost drive-thru affairs too. For those of you who weren't aware, that was an MCI 102A, the previous one. This old girl's a little long in the tooth here. Pretty well dinged up and banged up. Caught her at the football game in the Meadowlands. Whether they were saving her for just that kind of thing, popcorn charters as they're called in the industry, I don't know. But as you can see, this is one of the roughest MC-7s I ever saw in the Greyhound system in my life. She was fleet number 5931. Here's 1036 running out of St. Louis for Chicago. And an MC-7 down in the back coming out of the terminal. That really was a regal little terminal, there's no question of that. I'd wished I'd been able to afford video back in those days. Although, when I finally did get a video camera, the state of the art is nothing as it's what it is today. Because a lot of you have my early video. Well, it's certainly more than watchable. It's not in the quality that like this camera is today. Old 3635 here. Now, MC-7s had some pretty horrendous corrosion problems up in the nose structure. They took a lot of water up there for some odd reason, and you see that buckle that's underneath the driver's window? Well, that, if you were going to buy an MC-7 and you saw that buckle, your whole front end would be gone to hell in a handbasket. All corroded out and needing rebuilding, and that's what a lot of them did. They got very major rebuilds in the nose, but not every car did. Some of them were sold off without getting that rebuild. So you see that little crease, and somebody tries to tell you, oh, this guy must have hit a pole or something, but it's still a good bus. Well, it's a good bus, but front end may drop down around on the sidewalk someday for you. 3142 in the holding pen at Scranton. This is when they had their anywhere $99 fare, and they had that in the placard. They went up and down the pike depending on the time of the year. $68, $99. Of course, in the wintertime, you saw the lower fares, trying to urge you to go somewhere. $31.42 here is in fairly decent shape. A lot of those dings on the side of the buses, believe it or not, you know what they came from? They came from baggage handlers with their little baggage carts, particularly in the port, rolling them right into them. Skin is readily available for MC-7, so to this very day, so you don't have too much of a worry about that. Now this is the other side of Red Top. This is American Sightseeing Tours, and again, this was sold off too. This is car number 3. You know, this is a Florida operation. $36.27 making a run from St. Louis to Chicago. That placard advertising the fact that you could take a Greyhound group tour, or your group could charter a Greyhound also. Yeah, St. Louis was a nice place. Really was. Well, she's not a Greyhound anymore, but she was once upon a time. She's an MC-8 with a cap on her. Rimrock stages at the Greyhound